Hey there, Brian of London here, doing something a bit different for this video. Always, when I tweet about Israel, especially in time of violence and crisis, something like we've just been through with the rocket attacks and then Israel deciding to make a targeted assassination on the leader of Islamic Jihad and getting him, and then of course Islamic Jihad unleashing wave upon wave, hundreds of rockets aimed or badly aimed at Israeli civilians, taken out largely by Iron Dome, that's true, or 60% were falling in open areas, and of the rest that were heading towards actual people, something like 90% were intercepted by Iron Dome, but still a few get through. Fortunately, very, very low casualty rates on the Israeli side this time. And of course, we respond by shooting, and we have an incredibly highly accurate response where we kill almost all of the people that we kill are terrorists. Certainly it's war, so every now and then we hit back and civilians get in the way, which is regrettable and it is not celebrated by the Israeli population. But I wanted to read a tweet that I get and just deconstruct the main theme. So always whenever I'm talking about Israel, someone will come back with this answer. So let me read this tweet and then we'll deconstruct it, because everything in this tweet is wrong. I guess if you didn't push people off their land, out of their houses, bulldoze their houses for settlements, keep them behind walls with little access to food and water, embargo so no aid comes by sea, and constantly kill them, you wouldn't have to worry about attacks. Okay, every single part of that was wrong. And the reason this is important is because I can understand why anybody would think these things, because if you watch only the mainstream media about Israel, yeah, you will have these views about Israel. So I guess if you didn't push people off their land, okay, the indigenous status of Jews, Judea, Jews, Judaism is from this land called Israel. 3,000 years, I'll be brief, I won't give the whole indigenous article, but 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, the Jewish people came into being on this land. All of our festivals, all of our observances, all the foods we eat, the holidays we observe, they're all tied to this land, where we've buried our dead for millennia. The forefathers of our tribe, of our Jewish nation, are buried in Hebron, in a place called Shechem, which is now known as Nablus. These are our burial places. This is what makes Judaism indigenous, okay? And the people who call themselves Jews today are descendants of Judaism, and that's why we belong in Israel. We didn't push someone off our land. The figures are quite clear. There were at most a few 100,000 people living here by the end of the Ottoman era, when it was transferred to the British control, sort of in the late 1800s. You know, estimates of 2, 3, maybe 400,000 souls total living on the land of Israel and Jordan. So the place had become denuded of people. There were some Jews here, there were some Arabs, there were others. We didn't push people off. So he says, if you didn't push people off their land, we didn't, out of their houses, bulldoze their houses for settlements. We've never built settlements directly on top of modern Arab homes. We don't do that. Now, we blow up the homes of terrorists, that we do. We do bulldoze the homes of terrorists. It's a reprisal, it's a punishment that we inflict upon the families of terrorists, which kind of counteracts the money that they're given by foreign aid that then gets given to the Palestinian Authority that then pays salaries to them. So, but we do not bulldoze homes for settlements. Of course, if you drive through, for example, what we call Judea or Samaria, the hill country, it's empty. That's one of the things I always point out to people, how empty it is, how much room there is to create more homes for Jews and for Arabs. There's a lot of land out there. We don't need to bulldoze homes of Arabs in order to build settlements. So we just don't do that. Keep them behind walls with little access to food. Okay, the wall. Okay. Between where I am now and Judea, Samaria, there is in places a wall. That wall was built after the Intifada, when buses and restaurants were blowing up on a daily basis, and the wall has almost completely stopped suicide terrorism. We're now left with knife attacks and random shootings and stuff, and even those occur on the other side of the wall mostly. So it was successful in keeping us alive. That's what it's for. If they stop trying to kill us, the walls, the checkpoints, all of that stuff can come down. But only when they stop trying to kill us, which they have never stopped for a single day since prior to the establishment of Israel. There are pogroms of Jews back to 1929 and the Hebron massacres. They've never stopped their relentless jihad to take back control of this land for Islam. That's what it's all about. That's what they're doing. They want to dimify at best. The best option is to create a nation here where Jews can live as dhimmis underneath Islamic rule. That's their goal. So keep them behind walls with little access to food and water. Even Gaza, which you would think of as concentration camp Gaza, Gaza has a massive obesity problem. There is no difficulty with getting food in Gaza. And it has a massively growing population. It's going up all the time. In fact, even at the height of like the significant war that we had in 2014, the birth rate doesn't, the number of people that are killed by Israeli military action, even in 2014, doesn't exceed the birth rate. So they're still growing their population whilst they're under the heaviest attack. Now, this kind of attack that we've just gone through now was very, very targeted, very, very small numbers of attacks, each attack taking out specific terrorists who were often in the process or had just launched rockets at civilians in Israel. So keep them behind walls with little access to food or water. Well, nobody has died of starvation. You show me someone from the Palestinian areas who've died of starvation. So that's nonsense. Embargo, so no aid comes by sea. Yes, Israel insists that any deliveries to the Gaza Strip go through us. And then they go through a land crossing at Kerem Shalom where they can be checked. I've stood there, I've watched, I've seen the trucks come from the Israeli side, deposit their cargo, be checked, and then trucks from the Gaza side come and pick it up. There's gas pipelines that go through there, there's oil pipelines that go through there. All of it has to be checked. Even despite that, they seem to be able to get in the equipment and the raw materials to manufacture these hundreds of rockets that they shoot at us. But to say no aid comes is nonsense. They get everything they want. I've seen jacuzzis go across that border. They have fancy cars. Some of them are wealthy. And constantly kill them. Well, constantly. Define this constantly. We do not constantly kill. We choose our targets very, very carefully, and we go after them with extreme prejudice. But everybody else, unless they're standing next to a terrorist, they are pretty much safe all of the time. Then we wouldn't have to worry about attacks. Well, they were attacking us long before the establishment of the State of Israel, so that's just nonsense. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to deconstruct all of those points. We didn't push people off their land, we don't throw them out of their houses, we don't bulldoze their houses for settlements, we keep them behind walls only because they keep trying to kill us. They obviously have access to as much food and water as they can eat and drink because they're fat. No aid comes by sea because it actually comes into Israel by land and then gets transferred across the one and only crossing into Gaza, which they keep rocketing, by the way. It was a constant target during the latest round of fighting. But then this guy comes on. I'll read another one of his tweets. Religion isn't a property owner. Throughout the years, people will convert to the religion that they believe the most in. Same people, same land. There were no white Jews in Palestine. They were brown. European Jews stole their land. Zionism is the plague, not Islam. And there we reveal the background of this particular tweeter. He's a white supremacist. He's a white nationalist. He believes in a white nation that spans from Poland all the way to Arkansas and beyond. So that's this mistaken view that the color of your skin actually matters when it comes to determining who is indigenous. It doesn't. Jews come in all colors, all shapes, all sizes, and you can convert to being a Jew. You want to come live in Israel, go through an Orthodox conversion, you can come live here. It's actually easier than getting a visa to America. I speak from experience. And Zionism is the plague, not Islam. Zionism is a political movement to bring Jews back and self-determination in our own homeland. Islam is a difficult to pin down, sometimes religion, mostly political movement that seeks to conquer and rule the world. And anybody who transfers from Islam onto Zionism, we know their background. So that's just a really quick, I hope, deconstruction of the main thrust of nonsense that's thrown at me every time I talk about Israel. And I hope, standing here in front of the beach in Tel Aviv, I hope this sounds good, and I hope I can put this into a video that people will watch and share. I'm Brian of London, in Tel Aviv, and wishing you all the best and hoping for a rocket-free evening and Shabbat. Thanks for watching. Bye.